digital arena, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Basketball in March.
The Donut Bag presented by The Sportscast.
The Donut Bag, hosted by Joey Toscano. And here's your host, Joey Toscano.
I'll never get over that. I don't know if I'll ever get over having an intro song.
It is pretty darn cool.
It is cool.
It really is.
Oh, well, hello, everybody. I already see people coming in. Love that. Yeah, glad Twitter's working this week. Welcome to the Donut Bag Podcast, part of the Sportscast Network. Welcome to everybody joining us live. If you want to join in on the conversation, we've been lucky to have people join in, and if your comments are safe for work, we'll throw them in, we'll include them in the podcast. If you want to join in the conversation, that I think the only way to do that is through YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Bag of Donuts V instead of an F, and that comes to my channel, and then we're live on there. So, all right. I like when shows start with previously on the Donut Bag. So it's been a couple weeks since we talked, right? We didn't talk last week.
That is correct. Yeah, we weren't able to get together last week. So.
Right. So okay. So it's been 2 weeks, and in the past 2 weeks, we've had some developments. Sorry, what?
I said very, very, very little's happened in the quarterback.
Very little's happened. Let's start with what actually has happened so far, and that is that there's been some movement on the quarterback situation. The Steelers got Mason Rudolph. Mason is back. Are we happy? Slow clap.
I just, here's the thing. Like the thing that kind of took me by surprise was the amount of Steeler fans that I saw on Twitter that were actually somewhat okay with this. Like, okay, he's our guy. He can do it with the right tools. Let's go. I mean, no one was saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they seemed kind of content with him as a starter as a possibility. And I thought, is that what we've resorted to? Is that what we've, come to? Because, I don't know if you're living off those last 3 games where, he was the starter and they did, fairly well. But his last 3 games at Tennessee were nothing to write home about. To me, he's a Kenny Pickett kind of a guy. He's a Mitch Trubisky kind of guy. He's a career backup. He does what you want a backup to do. And how many times we said that on the show, Joe, is come in when you need to come in and don't lose games. And he does a good job of that. But I don't see him as an 18-game, 17-game starter. I don't see him as the answer. I'm not sure I want to see Aaron Rodgers here either. So, and that's probably a lot of the other Steelers fans are saying, and that's where they're going that way. And, Fields is gone since we last talked. He's a Jet. And then you have, Russell Wilson's flying every which way. He may be gone. And I just cannot get over the fact that we're watching this unfold this way. Obviously, if the Steelers were some magnet, some great place to be, some great place to play, I think Aaron Rodgers would have made his mind up a long time ago. But there's this back and forth, and we don't know. And, I remember texting you the last show, like, hey, we might know by 7 o'clock tonight what's going on. Well, hell, that's been 2 weeks. And here we are. And, now Steelers fans are getting pissed, like we don't need you. And I don't know. It's a mess beyond belief.
Mess beyond belief is a very good way to describe it. Mason Rudolph has had quite the impact on the Steelers in the past, 6 years, 5 years? I guess it would be 5. He was brought in the 3rd round, and he immediately pissed off Ben Roethlisberger. Ben got so mad. Yep. How dare you? How dare you try to get a quarterback to replace me? I'm only 79 years old. I'm going to do this forever. How dare you think
Right.
that I'm
No.
not ever going to retire? Which was just, oh God, no, I don't even want to get into that. But so, and obviously he did not get along with Ben, and I don't think I don't. I know Ben acknowledged that they don't get along, but anyway, they just didn't get along. But he started in his second year because or was it his first year? It was the year that Ben got hurt, 2019, and Ben blew out his elbow, and it was Mason and Duck Hodges, and in that season, Mason struggled. He got hurt. He had that ridiculous thing where he got a concussion or whatever, and they took off part of his helmet, and he looked like the Great Kazoo for a while, and then they put him on a cart, and the cart didn't work. Remember that? And
Yeah, I
then
remember Juju falling to his knees, all dramatic, like, you know.
and then
Oh.
and then later that season, the Myles Garrett thing happened, where basically Myles Garrett lied and called him a racist in front of the whole country, and like Myles Garrett had almost no repercussions. Everybody thinks he's a great, wonderful guy, and we know he's well, never mind. But anyway, so he was basically determined, and he got replaced by Duck during that season. So he was struggling. He got replaced by Duck Hodges, God rest his soul, but he's not even in the league anymore. He's the husband of a popular country singer right now, so he's living a great life. But good for him. So Mason was basically relegated to backup. Never had a chance. When Ben retired, did not have one chance. They said, okay, we're going with Mitch Trubisky, then we're going to draft Kenny Pickett, and Mason, you're number 3, and did not even have a chance. And then Kenny Pickett gets hurt. The offense struggles like crazy. Mitch Trubisky's in there. He is horrible. And we think, oh crap, this is all Matt Canada's fault. Then along comes Mason, those final 3 games of that season, a couple seasons ago, and he lights it up, and he changes he changes everything, because he showed that it was not just Matt Canada, it was also the quarterbacks. If you had a quarterback that had that was worth anything, you could actually move the ball in this offense. And he changed the trajectory, because if it wasn't for Mason Rudolph, we would have said, oh God, it was all Matt Canada's fault. Kenny, you're fine. Kenny Pickett, we'll keep you, and we'll get a new offensive coordinator, and we'll stick with you, and we'll all live happily ever after. And then they realized, oh crap, maybe Kenny sucks. And that started the chain reaction of Kenny asking for a trade, them getting Russell Wilson, trading for Justin Fields. So Mason had a big impact on this franchise, but now he's back, and there's no way he could be the guy. There's no way he could be the 17 game starter. There's no way.
No, don't forget the Oklahoma State, where he lit up Pitt for 6 touchdowns or whatever it was, and 60 points or something. There was that history.
I was at that game,
but we're regulated to talking about the fact that Duck Hodges is married to Lainey Wilson, and that's where our quarterback situation is. I mean, good God. I mean, it's somewhat actually terrifying, the fact that I'm not comfortable at all with us going in to this season if he's the starter. But I've told you before, hey, you know what? Okay, maybe we need a 5-win season so we can actually start getting some decent draft picks, as long as we draft smart. Which has not been their forte as of late. So, Mike Tomlin has been abysmal with draft picks, and his staff, or front office, however you want to put it. So, yeah, if you're a Steelers fan and your hope is not high right now, you're feeling depressed, we get it. I mean, I think I'm right there with you. I mean, I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I know, Joe, you don't like him. We both said him being a cancer. There's this whole thing with, if he does come here, then you got to deal with the drama and the, Tuesdays on,
Pat McAfee.
Yeah, thank you. Geez, Pat McAfee show, and God knows what WWE event he'll sign up to do. And it's just, I mean, but at the end of the day, for all the, jag off meter peg that he is, is better option out there on the field than Mason Rudolph is. And to the Steelers' credit, they went out and got a decent receiver. As the receiving core sits right now, it's better than it was last year. So I just don't know. I still wonder, Joe, if it were to be like tomorrow, he goes to the Minnesota Vikings, Aaron Rodgers, that the Steelers would make an immediate bid to do whatever they can to keep Russell here or go out and get Jameis Winston. I just feel that is probably the protocol. Because I just don't know how you turn the Steeler fan base and say, hey, Mason Rudolph's our guy. You're excited about this, right? Because I can guarantee you
there's no way.
The irony would be is his Mason Rudolph. And now your draft choice probably is now your priority is probably quarterback. So now you're bringing in, the next quarterback, and now Mason Rudolph's the starter, maybe. And now you have the sensational rookie there, and now he feels like what it was like to be Ben, I guess. I don't know. But I can't believe we're here. A lot of the things you and I thought would happen, said it happened, has happened. Najee's gone, went to the Chargers. So running backs, now on the list, because right now we have 2 backup running backs and a backup quarterback in our offense and a decent wide receiving core. What a mess. What a mess.
Well, I am a diehard Steelers fan, and I always will be, but there's 3 things that really have pissed me off in this last year. First off was this whole basically not having a wide receiver, not an adequate wide receiver all last year, and it basically destroyed the season. If they got a decent wide receiving core, if we got DK Metcalf last year, they do a lot better, just overall. And who knows what would have happened in the season? But it was clear they were banking on trading for Brandon Ayuk, and that didn't happen. Then they were going to get Christian Kirk, and that didn't happen. And they settled for Mike Williams, and we saw Tank didn't even use the dude, and that was a disaster. It basically tanked the season. That was the first thing. Second thing was the playoff game. I still have not found an adequate explanation for why the defense just quit. They just quit. I understand. Patrick Queen was sick as hell. I think he needed like 4 bags of IV fluid or something like that. The dude, I credit him for being a warrior and trying to go out there, but he was like 30% of his. He was basically useless out there. But I don't know what the rest of the defense is, and that defense sucked for like the last 5 games of the season. They lost all the games. They collapsed. They were blaming each other. I don't know what was going on, but you play all season, you do all this work to get to the playoffs, and you get to the playoffs, and then you get blown out yet again. Not only are we disgusted with Tomlin because he doesn't win a playoff game, he doesn't come close to winning a playoff game. They get blown out almost every single time. That's the second thing. And third thing is this whole Aaron Rodgers thing. And this whole thing, the way they've handled this whole quarterback situation. Clearly, they wanted Justin Fields. And clearly they thought, he's gonna love to come here. We're gonna offer him $2.83 an hour plus tips. Or whatever minimum wage it is. We'll just give him a few pennies. He'll be happy for that.
Bob Nutting.
Yeah. Well, there's some parallels. Yeah. We're going to offer him, and who knows what. There's conflicting reports about what was actually offered. There was a report recently that it was actually almost the same as the Jets. But anyway, Justin Fields decided to go to the Jets. And can you blame him? Can you blame him when, and I'm not talking about that he got benched. I'm not talking about, he's like, well, he was 4-2. We were there during that time. That was a very iffy 4-2, and he contributed. It's not like he did nothing. It's not like he showed some sparks, but as you mentioned many times, he got a lot of fumbles that we were lucky to land on, and that was the main thing with him is he was turnover prone, and he did commit turnovers. And the Steelers' offense with him was ultra conservative, just like it was with Kenny Pickett, just like it was with Mitch Trubisky. Like, don't make any mistakes. God forbid we make any mistakes, and we were ultra conservative. And I'm sure Justin Fields saw that and said, why would I want to come back to that? Why would I want to come back where I'm severely restricted in anything I could do? And they didn't even have any faith in me to stick with me. And who knows? You know, I mean, we discussed this a million times that it was actually Russell Wilson was always a starter. They never really gave Justin Fields a chance. It was always Russell's team. And okay, whatever. But anyway, okay, so they lose Justin Fields. And now what do we have? Now we are begging Aaron Rodgers, a clown, to maybe, like, please, will you play with us? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe I'll decide now. Maybe I'll decide next week. Maybe I'll decide next month or whatever. I'll think about it.
Wander along the beach with a towel.
Yeah. He on the beach. You know, a staged picture, by the way, please. But this is where we are. This is where we are as a franchise. That we this once proud franchise that we've been reduced to begging crazy idiots that are 800 years old. Well, please, will you play with us? Please. It's embarrassing. It's just ridiculous.
It's so let me go with the Aaron Rodgers drama first, because I think that's pretty apropos. You know, there was a time before he went to the Jets that the rumors actually started back then, that like him and Tomlin had this thing and this whole, and I think it's really getting to be baloney now. Oh, Tomlin, I want to play for Mike Tomlin. I want to play for Mike Tomlin, which I think is bull. You know, remember there was I think it was after one of the games, they kind of gave each other a look, and you know, somebody even said, one of the announcers,
they were winking at each other.
You know, like they're winking at each other, and we're like, "Wow, holy crap!" You know, and that would have been what now, 3 years ago. Yeah. So, 3 years ago, who knows? But either way, he's always been a bit of a jag-off. Although I will say, I don't know if you watched a Netflix series about him. May change your mind a little bit on him. It's interesting the life he's had. I would say for anyone watching the show tonight, take a look at that. It didn't totally sway me, but yeah, you know, I mean. Here we are, and with Aaron Rodgers, and you know, it seems to me like I almost feel like he wants to go to the Vikings. I feel like we're not in the driver's seat anymore. I don't know, you know, and that's the hard part about it, Joe. The better half of me, even again the Netflix thing and all that stuff, and understanding him a little bit better as a person. I'm not going to be heartbroken if he's not here, but at the same time, then I'm sitting there thinking it's Mason Rudolph. To go back on your point, which I think is really good, on Fields, what the hell was that even? What was he even here for? You know, you brought this kid who's still, I guess you could make the argument, a young kid with a lot of potential that just couldn't get things to working at the Bears. And maybe if he came here, that would be it. So to your point, and again, excellent. You have about a 4 to 6 game window that we saw. And, you know, kids are going to fail. They are going to have the turnovers. But, you know, you brought in Russ. And so if you're sitting there as Fields, you're sitting there saying, well, all I want to do is a chance to start. And obviously it's, okay, let's see. Okay, Russ is the guy. By the way, to his credit, he handled that very well. All season, he handled that very well. And then, okay, so now, okay, what are the Steelers going to do? Are they going to let Russ go? Is it my time? And all he's sitting here thinking is, well, Russ is kind of still here. They're talking about Aaron Rodgers. They won't shut up about Aaron Rodgers. And, you know, hey, the Jets are over here. Hey, we'll pay you. And seems like he's going to get a chance to be the starter there. You know, and I know you and I were talking the last show about, hey, good luck with the New York media and all that. But the weird circumstances, he could work out there. And right now I feel like they're in a better quarterback situation than we are. You know, because we're basically down to a 41-year-old quarterback, hoping maybe a 38-year-old quarterback will come back who is so-so. And if not, we're stuck with Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson or whatever. And holy crap. I mean, they couldn't have managed this any worse than they have. And I'm not sure at this point why you even brought Justin Fields here if this is what the outcome was. If the outcome was he's going to play about 5 games, and then he's gone. I mean, what in the world?
Yeah.
What was that? You kind of did an injustice to that kid. You didn't help out the quarterback room here at all. And we're stuck in a worse situation than anyone else. And honestly, other than the Giants, who right now the only active quarterback on their starting roster is Tommy DeVito. Other than the Giants, I think we're probably in the worst spot in the entire league. At least the Cardinals have Kyler Murray.
Right.
But we're the most important position on the entire field. We are probably in the worst spot other than the Giants. And the Giants have the 3rd round pick. So that's why I feel they're actually a little bit of a step above us, because they can at least probably go get one of these guys that's, capable of coming in and being the next guy.
Sanders, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, Joe, I mean, holy, I just can't believe that this is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Listen, if you only do your job part of the way, that's not good enough. Omar Khan screwed up last year with the wide receiver thing. He's screwing up this year with the quarterback thing. It's like that's like a chef making a wonderful meal with chicken or something like that, but he forgets to cook the chicken and it's raw, and somebody eats it and they end up in the hospital. You can't just halfway do your job. You got this is ridiculous. And clearly it seemed like the plan was, okay, we got Justin Fields. We're gonna have him sit a year and hopefully correct all the mistakes he had from Chicago, and then we'll see how he is, and maybe he'll be the long-term option like that. And I'm sure they just assumed that they were going to keep him, and then and this is the first time that Justin Fields was actually allowed to go to another team. This is the first time he was actually a free agent. Right. So, and remember last year, it was very obvious that the Bears were going to trade him because they were bringing in Caleb Williams. And the thought was, well, nobody wants him. I mean, the Steelers got him for a 6th-round draft pick. But maybe the Steelers assumed nobody would want him this year. Like, hey, buddy, look around. Supply and demand. Like you said, the Jets need a quarterback. The Giants need a quarterback. The Steelers need a quarterback. It's like there's not enough good quarterbacks for all the teams out there. So this is just incredibly. And then I just don't understand this. Russell Wilson, I don't know what happened, but he must have really pissed them off, because it looks like Russell Wilson is not plan C or D or Y or Z. I don't even think he's a consideration. I think they would rather forfeit the season than have Russell Wilson be on this team again. I don't know what happened. I don't know how he pissed them off, but he must have really pissed them off, because really he's the only option right now, besides, like you said, Jameis Winston, which is a really entertaining, funny option.
Yeah. Or did it go the other way? Did the Steelers do something to piss him off? And I don't know. And that's the thing. It's like, this, I don't want to say it's a delusion of grandeur, but, it used to be, wearing a Steeler uniform playing here has a sense of pride to it. It's like wearing pinstripes for the Yankees or Dodger blue, even though we may hate those teams, or something like that, or Cardinal red. And all of a sudden, and honestly, as this is a diehard St. Louis Cardinal fan, which people don't forgive me for, but grew up that way. They're very mirrored like the Steelers this year. I think, not to get up on baseball, I think the Cardinals are probably a very good candidate to finish last in the division this year. And I follow them closely, and they're in turmoil right now with just the way the team's been run, drafts, free agency, and we're kind of the same way here in Pittsburgh. It has not been run well. Our Steelers. I mean, usually, Joe, we finish the season 500 or above, not bad, but all these years of not winning a playoff game, all these years where I've been saying Tomlin isn't what he's supposed to be, and some of the others out there are kind of coming to fruition. And here we are with a team that's very questionable. And, the main position on the team is really up in the air. And I guess I would have to believe that if they don't get Rodgers, they immediately do something to get Jameis and Winston here, or something of that ilk, or turn around and see, Russ, we effed up. We need you back. What will it take? Something, because again, back to the Mason Rudolph thing. If they sit there and they're going to tell us, hey, it's Mason Rudolph, I don't know. They're not sitting in a pretty position in the draft. I've been saying for years, ever since I saw him play in a bowl game and he slaughtered Penn State. Jackson Dart was my guy, but I was hoping that would be a secret, and he is just shot up the charts like you wouldn't believe. And now the common acknowledgement is that the Saints are really, really high on him. The Saints haven't drafted a quarterback in the first round since Archie Manning, believe it or not.
Wow.
And so he's sitting there at 9. I mean, you look at his college career, every year, he's the only quarterback in the draft this year where all 3 years his percentage completion has increased, rushing yards and touchdowns have increased, and passing. I mean, he's the guy. For some reason, he's flying under the radar, and I'm not sure why. Maybe because it's Ole Miss, and maybe they're not, they're kind of a B level, low A tier level, college program. And but everyone knows, and when he came out in the combine, and he absolutely smoked the combine. I mean, it looked incredible. And so now, a lot of people had him going to the Steelers. Some still do. I don't see him lasting. And whether he or not he turns out to be the Messiah or he's a bust, there's always that guy that, is kind of like the comeback kid, right? The kid you don't see coming, the 1-2-3 kid when he beat Razor Ramon, this guy, and it's Jackson Dart. And all of a sudden, and I think someone will probably reach on him early. So, and there's not anybody out there even in the draft that really gets me going. So to me, it's like, I don't know whether I actually can't believe I'm saying this to say, well, we started Mason Rudolph. We win maybe 5 or 6 games. We're going to suck. And maybe next year will be better. But I can't, 40 years of being a Steeler fan, Joe, and I can't ever remember being that way. But here we are. And a large part of that is this quarterback situation that they have just mangled. Absolutely mangled. And again, look at it this way. Okay, let's say Aaron Rodgers comes. Aaron Rodgers drama. Aaron Rodgers is now here. Here comes the drama with him. They probably have a winning season behind Aaron Rodgers, as much as I hate to admit it. Maybe we need a losing season. I don't know what to say. It's just it's perplexing.
Let's say they get Jackson Dart. Let's say they would, like you said, he's not going, especially now that they don't even have a second round draft pick. They have to get Jackson Dart in the first round. That kind of ruins their draft because it is clear that they need to spend that first round draft pick on a defensive lineman because they ain't done diddly squat. Oh, good. We got Isaiah Loudermilk back. Okay. Good. Thank God. So I mean, obviously they want to get a defensive lineman in the first round, but if they have to waste it on quarterback and you don't, so you waste your first round pick, you don't even have a second round pick. You hope your third round pick does something like what? That's just ridiculous. Well, and sorry, go ahead.
No, all of it's true what you said. And that's the part I'm saying, Joe. It's almost unprecedented if you don't get this figured out with quarterback. And we aren't at least going into the season with Rodgers, Winston, or Russ. At least 3 starters that have proven themselves, all to different extents. You basically you're right, back yourself in you almost have to go for a quarterback if one's available there that's worth any ilk, and you're right. And that's the other thing too. We have so many needs. The needs are many. Defensive line, running back. We have 2 backup running backs right now. One thing you can always say about Najee was, I know Leanne loves him, who's been on the show with us many times. I'm not as big of a fan. I thought he was meh. I thought he was okay. Okay running back. He may go to San Diego and really be something, or he may just be meh there too. Either way wouldn't shock me. That's the weird part about Najee. He didn't suck. He wasn't great, but he's going and he's gone, and now we're stuck with 2 guys that between them had more fumbles than he had his entire career here. Najee didn't fumble the ball. He only had 5 fumbles. One was actually one after catching the ball as a receiver. So as a running back, pure running back, 4 fumbles over 4 years. He didn't fumble the ball. That's one thing you want to ask of a running back that's brilliant. So that's gone. We have 2 backup running backs, Mason Rudolph, a quarterback, and a young offensive line where you and I both agree is probably a little bit better than what I think a lot of people think they are. I think they'll gel, and that's maybe the one highlight of the team, providing everything works out and they stay healthy. So, but you're at this spot where I can't remember being in a position where I don't know what the hell they're going to do in the draft, Joe. The draft show will be interesting because it's all up in the air.
Yeah.
And you can got a comment there, Joe. You can draft a quarterback early, but I mean, if it's not a good quarterback, I don't want to draft a quarterback early. You go back and you look at the draft class from Kenny Pickett's draft class, it sucks. There's not one guy from Kenny Pickett's class, not one, that's a starter in the NFL today. Not one.
Yeah.
So make a grab early. Well, you could, David. You absolutely could. But you just don't grab a quarterback to grab a quarterback.
But Dave brings up what I was about to say, and this is what a lot of people are saying is, and we're almost starting to sound like the Pirates. I keep hearing this. Well, this is a bridge year. Wait till next year. Wait till next year. Look at all these comp picks we're getting because we lost all these people. Wait till next year. Oh my God. This is exactly what the Pirates do every damn year. Oh, look at all the prospects we have. Oh my God, they're look at what we're going to do in the future. Like, oh my goodness, is that what we're doing? Are we just punting on 2025? Because that's what I'm hearing a lot. Is don't worry about the quarterback this year. Well, we're going to play somebody. we need adequate staffing at the position here.
We're going to punt our brains out.
Seriously,
but I don't mind. I actually don't mind where David is going at the end of that comment. Worst case scenario is we're top 10 next year and prepare anything else. Well, then why waste on a quarterback? Go with Mason Rudolph, and we're sure as hell probably a top 10 next year. Don't waste a pick on a quarterback we aren't sure of, because it's a pretty steep decline after the first 3. Let me tell you, you may hit luck with like a Will Howard or somebody like that. I mean, he's so big. And a kid from Houston too. But you can grab those guys in the 3rd or 4th round. We're talking, first round draft pick. And if you look, and what scares me is the history. So you go back to 01. Look at this. 7 picks in a row. 01, Casey Hampton, 19th pick. Kendall Simmons, 30th pick, 02. Troy Polamalu, remember him? 16th overall. Ben Roethlisberger, you may have heard of him, 11th. Heath Miller, 30th, tight end. Santonio Holmes, he did pretty well for us too. And then Lawrence Timmons, not bad, not exactly a Hall of Famer, but those are great picks. You fast forward to the last 7 picks here, or Bud Dupree, 2015. That didn't work out too well except for 1 year.
Nope. Exactly.
AJ Burns, that was great. Or Artie Burns, I'm sorry. Artie Burns, 16. Yeah. TJ Watt, 2017. TJ Watt worked out well. Terrell Edmonds, 2018. No. Devin Bush, 2019. Bad. Yeah, 2 thumbs down. Najee Harris is meh. Kenny Pickett, total bust at quarterback. That's why you don't reach too early on a quarterback, because he's on his 3rd team in 3 years. Jones there in 2023. And then, Fontanu there in last year. So very unimpressive list over the last 9 years. All those Tomlin picks, so I backs up what David's saying a little bit. Those were higher picks, 20s and back. Fall on your face and pick top 10. Maybe you could do better then. Although Devin Bush, they traded up to the 10th pick, right, Joe? I think to get Devin.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't screw up on the draft. And all those people you mentioned, one, TJ Watt. That's it. That was the only one, the only good one. You can't screw up. You can't mess up. And heck, look at the past 2. Broderick Jones. The jury's out there, not looking great. Last year, Fautanu, can't help that he got hurt, so we'll see. But you can't mess up on your first round picks. It puts you so far behind. And as you said, when you screw up on a first round quarterback and you assume that person is going to be the guy and you're wrong, that sets you back. And that's what puts us in the exact same position we're screwed. This is bad. Another thing is, what the hell are we doing this offseason? They came in with the 7th most cap space, about $60 million. And let's just talk about who they lost. Larry Ogunjobi, Landon Roberts, Justin Fields, Dan Moore, Najee, James Daniels, Justin Fields, and those are the main ones. Who did they get? Darius Slay, DK Metcalf, Kenneth Gainwell, Malik Harrison, and Thornhill, and there might be a couple other ones, but they've lost a lot, and they picked up some things, but it's like, I don't know what they're doing. When you have the 7th most money to spend, what have you spent it on? Basically DK Metcalf, and that's it.
Yeah, because a lot of guys you just named, sadly, are backups. Kenneth Gainwell will never do a damn thing here. He's a backup. You got a couple guys there probably play special teams. Slay was good last year. At 34, who knows? But it wasn't that long ago when we brought another guy in by the name of Peterson in old age, and that sure as heck didn't work out. Remember the 49ers game alone? I mean, he looked, every bit of what our fear was on age. So I agree with you. The offseason has been less impressive. If you're given a grade, it's probably a C- to a D for me, just simply for the fact, like, you needed to get a receiver and you got one. I mean, that was kind of like, you need to fill in the dots and stay in the lines. So you couldn't possibly mess that up. So that was an upgrade you needed. But there's other things here where, again, just not good. And the free agents out there, I mean, they are in a problem right now when the free agents that are out there are not great. It's a bad situation, Joe. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a bad situation to be in, just from circumstance and falling on your own sword.
Something that Cam Hayward said in the past day or two is just really telling. He, on his podcast, the guest asked, "Hey, do you want Aaron Rodgers? Do you want to go on a darkness retreat to go get him or whatever?" And he said, "I'm not doing any of that. I ain't doing that darkness retreat. I don't need any of that crap. Either you want to be a Steeler or you don't. It's simple. That's the pitch." Now, this is the same guy that a year ago was, from what we understand, actively recruiting Russell Wilson. Okay. While Kenny Pickett was on the roster, he is actively trying to find his replacement. And now this year he's like, whatever. And I'm sure, I'll bet he thinks the exact same way that we do. It's like, hey, we're the Steelers. What do we do? Why are we dealing with this clown that just says, "Oh, I don't know if I want to be here. I'll think about it." Like, I'm sure he's disgusted too. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and that's I guess guys like him and Watt, like I told you, Watt was so disappointing last year. With I thought, when Myles Garrett did what he did to us, and then kind of bragged about it and put it in his face about being defensive player of the year and everything else, I thought that would have really woke him up or light a fire. It didn't. Fact faming, he definitely regressed. He had a horrible second half of the season, did TJ Watt. And yeah, I mean, and now you're in that kind of negotiation with him. And I still go back to the fact that I'm not so sure they shouldn't have traded him, or they should trade him and figure out what they can get. I would not be opposed to that. I guess that's probably an unpopular opinion. But, boy, if you want to be like David's saying, and, sometimes you got to punt a year and you want a top 10 pick, get rid of TJ Watt, trade him off and rebuild, because you're right about that. And that's another thing that makes us mirror the Pirates. For years, the Pirates would always say, whoa, we're not in a rebuilding year. We're just, adding for the future and making the right moves while we're still competitive. You were rebuilding, year after year after year. The Steelers are in full rebuild mode here, folks. Don't let it fool you. We're not contenders. And if anything, I think we might. I mean, I guess we're better than the Browns for the most part. But I'll tell you what, the Browns can draft Abdul Carter, and they've got him and Garrett. Holy cow. That offensive line better draw real damn quick for the Steelers. So who knows? But the Bengals, I'll tell you what, they paid the money. They got their guys there. You may put 50 up against them, but they may put 60 up against you. That's the thing. And I still go back, and I'll go to my grave saying this, Joe. The Chiefs absolutely sat their starters so they wouldn't have to possibly play the Bengals in the playoffs this year.
Oh,
because there's no way the Chiefs would have beat the Bengals. They barely beat a lot of teams this year, and you saw when it got to playing the Eagles, they weren't ready for them, and they couldn't beat them. And they were afraid, as I think a lot of teams were, of playing the Bengals because I don't think the Chiefs were capable of putting up 40 points against them. Maybe the Bills would have been, but so, again, we're just not in a good situation right now. And we've been doing a show for a few years now, Joe, and we've always been at least a solid foundation. Hey, we can build on this, we can build on that. But damn, man, it's tough looking at our Steelers right now. It's tough to get excited. It's tough to be confident. I don't think we're anywhere near Baltimore. It's usually neck and neck. Ravens, Steelers, here, and here are the Ravens, and we're,
I don't know. I mean, I can't argue against that because we don't have a quarterback. We don't know we don't know what's going to happen. And even if they get Aaron Rodgers, all the other crap aside, he's 41. He's going to be 42. What do you expect from a 41-year-old? Did we not watch how he was with the Jets? He had like 2 or 3 good games at the end of the season, back basically in garbage time when he was just messing around with Devontae Adams, and people think he's still good. There are like 10 games where he was absolutely awful. Are we forgetting that? Another thing is, if he is the quarterback, basically half of what Arthur Smith wants to do, you just throw it out the window. And you think, and the funny thing is, they're mad at Russell Wilson probably because Russell Wilson wanted to do his own thing. You don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to do that? You don't think Aaron Rodgers is just going to call whatever the heck play he wants? My God.
No, it's almost like you got to put back the Aaron Rodgers drama on the crawl because, I mean, if they get him, he is not going to come waltzing in here and determine, like, we are going to do this together. I'm going to lead this team. We're going to back where it's going to be. He's going to come in and be like, yeah, okay, you're paying me money. And, who has the best pizza, which will create a whole other debate. We'd have to have a show about that. Meanwhile, your GM, Omar Khan, if he had a pizzeria, you'd only get toppings on half the pizza.
It would be, it would be not even cooked.
Right. Yeah, that's the Bob Nutting special. No, and that's the thing. And look, guys, we're not being Debbie Downers here or the captains of pessimism. It's just, I think it's cold hard fact, folks. And look at David's chiming in there about who's this generation's Cliff Stout. We're the Cliff Stout era. We really are, and it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard because
Mitch Trubisky was this generation's Cliff Stout. And Kenny Pickett was this generation's Mark Malone. And
so we're looking for Bobby Brister at this point.
We're looking for Bobby Brister. You know who's this generation's Bobby Brister? Jameis Winston. That would be this generation's Bobby Brister.
That's right. Jameis, bring your mom. I hope she's still with us.
I would welcome Jameis Winston with open arms, even though it would just he would be a disaster in a fun way. It would be
right.
It would be
right. He's going to throw 3 or 4 touchdowns a game. He's going to throw 3 or 4 touchdowns
and 6 interceptions. It would be.
He'll throw 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, that's exactly right. But I'll tell you what, if we woke up tomorrow and they said Jameis Winston's coming here, I'd feel a little bit better tomorrow than I do right now. Sad to say. Sad to say, but that's how I feel. I'd be because what the heck, Joe? I mean, I cannot. And that's the thing. I can't imagine paying Aaron Rodgers what he wants. I don't want to pay him that. We can use that money for other things. And I know that might mean, well, then Mason Rudolph's your quarterback. Well, then so be it. I'm in a David Pod in our fan club. Then so be it. Then let's punt and Mason Rudolph's our quarterback and go for a top 10 pick next year. Because I don't want to pay Aaron Rodgers what we can pay him because I don't think, like you said, Joe, he's not going to come in here and fix anything. You pay a guy that kind of money who can come in and take your team to the next level, win playoff games, put you in contention. That guy deserves the money. Aaron Rodgers won't do that. He doesn't deserve that money.
I'll bet that's the whole issue there. I'll bet the Steelers are like, okay, we'll give you $20 million or something like that. And Aaron Rodgers like, yeah, right. Maybe that's the whole thing. How pathetic would it be if I'm the Vikings, I say, like, okay, yeah, it would kind of be nice if we had Aaron Rodgers and maybe that would work. But we got this dude. We got this rookie. We'll be fine. But how sad would it be if Aaron Rodgers eventually decides to go to the Giants because they offered him like $40 million? It's like, dang, the Giants beat us out? And for somebody we don't even want? Wow.
Yep. No, 100%. And that's just the way I look at it. And I honestly feel that way. I mean, I just don't see, and I could be wrong. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers came here and they go on an 11-game winning season, okay. But then again, I almost would like to see us pick at a decent draft pick as long as we don't screw it up. I mean, Steelers are drafting Pittsburgh next year, and it'd be exciting not to be 24th or 27th or 21st, But David, Aaron Rodgers following in Brett Favre's footsteps. I'd almost say I agree with you, but I tell you what, other than the Jets thing, which was a debacle, he did pretty good with the Vikings. Took them to the NFC Championship game. They were not far away from getting back to the Super Bowl. Actually one, interception that was Brett Favre's fault towards the end, and his guard, forgot to block on that play. We know what that happened with Rashard Mendenhall. But so there's kind of two players at fault there in that pick, but that worked out pretty well. I just guess I have a hard time because Favre went to Minnesota and, he brought a winning attitude. He brought, he gave them hope. They rallied around him. They talked about that all year about, he just changed the locker room. And I guess I just, respectfully disagree with David on that, Joe. I mean, you can chime in too, but I don't see Aaron Rodgers bringing that same dynamic.
In his first year, and this is almost crazy with the parallels. In his first year with Minnesota, Brett Favre was 40 years old and he had 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. His last year with Minnesota was a disaster, 11 touchdowns, 19 interceptions. But like you said, 33 touchdowns for a 40-year-old is very impressive. But I think to me it just seemed like Favre was in better shape than Aaron Rodgers is now. It just seems like Aaron Rodgers is like can barely walk out there. And
and in that case, maybe you and David are correct. I mean, what version of Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers do we get? Do we get the 33 touchdowns, 7 picks? Right. Or do we get the 14 touchdowns and 18 picks? In that case, that's probably not a bad point from David. I mean, you like. So and especially when you look at what you're going to pay him, you're going to pay a guy to come in and throw 14 and touchdowns and 19 picks, which is what we could get for Jameis Winston for $40 million less. Hey, Jameis Winston only did this. Well, that's no bad. We only paid him $9 million.
Right?
Who cares?
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Just wow. I just can't believe we're here. Now the thing about the Browns, there's talk they might actually get Sanders, which is also hilarious because I don't think he's good enough to be the number 2 or number 3 pick or whatever the Cleveland's getting. But anyway, if they don't get Sanders, I don't think they're going to rock with Kenny Pickett. And Russell Wilson actually did go there. How funny would it be if Kenny Pickett goes to a team and then Russell Wilson takes his job yet again?
It would be great.
It's deja vu all over again.
And, as much as we're kind of poking the Steelers with a stick here tonight, the Browns, I mean, they're not known, for any of you who are just joining the show, they're not known for their quarterback prowess or picking quarterbacks right or bringing free agent quarterbacks in. In fact, probably in NFL history, they are the worst by far. And so I guess that's the only parallel to Joe's point that but the sad parallel is if it was like you want to cry that we're in the same damn spot that they are in the quarterback realm. I mean, hell, Joe, we sat here for the last I don't know how many minutes now talking about we didn't even get to anything else, and there's a lot else that they have holes to fill. We haven't even gotten up the damn quarterback shit. I mean, we can go running back, we can go defensive line, we can go, linebacker. It's just, figure it out. I mean, for the love of God, by Friday or Saturday, figure out what the hell you're doing with the quarterback so we can figure out what we're going to do, how to fix the rest of this mess.
What if he waits till another couple weeks? Like
Which he could.
What? I don't know. I don't know. Russell Wilson can't be that bad.
Well, he can't be that bad, but he seems to be that mad. Like you said, I think you're probably more right than I am. I think he's pissed off at the Steelers. I don't think it's the other way around. I don't think the Steelers can afford to be pissed off at anybody right now.
Right.
I mean, they really can't. If it is that they are pissed off, which you're probably, it's the other way around. But dude, guys, just, what's the Mother Goose rhyme or whatever it is with the two dogs and a bone, and the dog sees his reflection in the pool and the pond, and I mean, my wife would be upset. She knows those things back and forth. I always forget them. But yeah, I mean, good God, we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, a storied, historic franchise. Which, by the way, when DK Metcalf came here and he had his press conference, they said, well, what sold you on the Steelers? It's like, well, they're the Steelers. They're a historic franchise. You don't have to sell me on them. They are the Steelers. And that is a great response. But are they? Are the Steelers the Steelers? Or are we just some, I don't know. We're no better than like Jacksonville right now.
Yeah, have you been watching lately? Because, we are Steelers in theory. But I don't know. And I wonder about that too, Joe. I mean,
sorry, go ahead. Okay, I'm gonna go. I was just gonna say I've heard it said that there's no way Dan Rooney would even consider this Aaron Rodgers thing, and I think you're right. I think Dan Rooney ran this team a lot better than Art is.
No, we've been saying that for weeks. I mean, the way when I say the old man, that's a term of endearment, right? It's what they called Art. Wolf and Tunch always talk about it all the time, the old man, and Terry Bradshaw called him the old man. And but Dan was the new old man. And that's the thing. I mean, there was a picture of all people who honestly now seems maybe finally coming back down to earth. Antonio Brown posted a picture about a week ago of him and Dan Rooney, and they're running little just wide receiver outs, and Dan Rooney's there on the field with that cane hunched over, and barely being able to walk. But there's Dan Rooney out in the field, and you just didn't see that. You don't see that with the new regime. It's just again, I think it's all a bunch of falsity. We talked about last year, Tomlin being so emotional at the end of that press conference, not this past year, the year before. We thought, okay, maybe they're being held to fire because 2 days later, Art the Third goes in there and gives them, we can't do this. We got to be better. And what's he do? He gives that idiot a 3-year contract. And this year's press conference was the same as the other 16. Like, obviously, and, we don't live in our fears. And speaking of living our fears and the whole Tomlinism crap, the garbage that spews out of his mouth constantly, it was, we are looking for volunteers, not hostages. Well, Aaron Rodgers, brother, he is holding your ass hostage right now for the last couple of weeks. And yet somehow you're entertaining that. And you want to say, well, we believe in volunteers, not hostages. Because Aaron Rodgers isn't volunteering crap.
He is literally, you're right. He is literally holding us hostage. He's holding the entire franchise hostage. This entire situation has been holding the entire franchise hostage. Because I guarantee you their plan was, okay, before free agency hits, we're going to sign Justin Fields, and then we're going to know how much money we have, and we can spend it on this, this, and this. And now it's like, we don't know how much money we're going to spend because we don't know who our quarterback is, because we don't know anything. This ruined this offseason.
Completely. I think that's what you and I were saying all along. Like, they should have just said, okay, Justin Fields, you're our guy. If it works out, great. We got you for a song. We're going to pay you. And we got our young quarterback who has plenty of years left and can improve. But they messed that up, and now we're sitting at, we're watching Cocoon instead of watching, a young kid try to get a possible, start in the NFL, a new start.
And they had success with Russell Wilson. Yeah, it fell apart at the end, but a lot of things fell apart at the end. They had success, sure. And this is a better offense. Hopefully the offensive line is better. Now you have assuming they keep Pickens, you have a good wide receiver core, and who knows? Maybe this what's his face, Roman Wilson. Maybe he'll be a good third option or whatever. Right. But you have a better offense, and Russell can do it, and Russell's specialty is the deep ball, and you have now two wide receivers that their specialty is a deep ball. It's a good marriage. So guys, get together and just work it out. Go to Permanis, have a capicola and egg, and just work it out.
Capicola and egg's a good job. That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know, Joe. It just is unbelievable to me that they somehow fixed the quarterback room like they did last year, and we're back at square one this year. I don't know. I guess I would actually be somewhat comfortable if Russell Wilson did come back, but I don't know. You might be right. Maybe I wasn't looking at it the same way you is, but maybe that ship has sailed, and it's not coming back. And if that's the case, I mean, they're really up that creek. They really are.
I don't know.
And I just
can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't either. Even last year, going into the draft, we were like, okay, here's what they need to do. This is kind of almost unprecedented territory for us, at least since, 1969 or the 80s. We just, I don't know what it is a deep draft for defensive linemen. There's quite a few very good ones. There's a couple linebackers out there that I think they could grab that might make a difference. But to your point, to David's point, do they get happy feet? And if the quarterback situation is Mason Rudolph, now they're giving a hell of a hard look at a quarterback in the early rounds when they might not have had to. I think they would take Jackson Dart. But I don't think anymore that Jackson Dart's going to be there when they're there, or Jackson Dart for months. I mean, months was second-round pick, which is why a lot of people had him. Steelers have an early pick in the second round, had them. Good chance he's going to the Steelers. And I don't care what anyone tells you, and I've told you before, I've covered the NFL Combine. And if you do really well there, which he does, the media will run with it. Now you have Mel Kiper and every other guy on ESPN and the NFL Network are in love with this guy. Well, scouts follow that, teams follow that, whether they tell you that or not, they do. And now all of a sudden, Jackson Dart, and that's not because he sucked. That's because Jackson Dart went from a second-round guy to now they're talking top 10. There's still some guys out there thinking he'll fall. I don't know, but I just don't think he can be a Steeler. I desperately would love him to be a Steeler, and after that, I think it falls off pretty quickly. Will Howard's huge. He's everything you want. But his pro day, as good as Jackson Dart's was, his was bad. And now you look at it and you say, well, he's a winning quarterback, right? He just won a national championship. But he had a running back that's probably going first round, maybe early second. That's another guy the Steelers, could be getting as the Ohio State running back, who I would be fine with. I'd be good at. And you had two wide receivers, probably the best wide receiver duo in the country, arguably, especially in the last 2 months of the season, which is where it counts. And that's another guy I would love to see the Steelers snag. I don't know if he'll last. But now you got to wonder, well, you were just a product of the offense you were in. Because when you took all that away, the guy had one of the epic meltdown worst combine performances. I think you can look it up on YouTube. He missed everything. He couldn't hit a barn. And that affects you. So that's why I think you see a lot of these quarterbacks saying, oh, no, I don't want to be in the combine. Pro day they'll do because pro day they can use their own receiver. Pro day they can use their own receiver they can work with up until the pro day.
That had to
combine,
really suck for Will Howard because he was in the national championship game. I mean, he played when was that? Like end of January? And when was the combine? Like middle of February? I mean, he only had like a week or two to prepare for the thing. That shouldn't excuse him, but still, all these other people, they've had months to prepare for it. And he basically was just, preparing to win a national championship. And then he has to go in. So I mean, that's something that other, you have to consider with this new college playoff thing that they're playing so late. I mean, that, that could be a cautionary tale. A lot of them will just skip the combine now, but, I don't know. I haven't felt this pessimistic about the team in a long time. I just can't believe this is where we're at. And I just, it's just funny that we think Mason Rudolph, like you said, has this, people are actually optimistic about him, and nothing against him. Maybe he will be good. All they need is for someone to operate the offense. Just operate the offense. I mean, in theory, you have your weapons now. So, and as long as the offensive line holds up and hopefully they get a running back, you could do things, but I don't know. There's just so much uncertainty now. I just can't believe we're in almost the end of March and we don't even know who our damn quarterback is. I just can't believe this.
The last time I can remember that, I'm trying to think if it was 97 where we started the big guy that came over from the Giants, Kent Graham.
Jim Miller. Kent Graham. Yeah.
Kent Graham, number 11. I mean, 6'5", had every tool, but he just stunk. He had the mobility of a turtle, and Cordell eventually kind of came in, and we've always said on the show, Cordell was ahead of his time. I think if Cordell Stewart were quarterback now, I think he'd be better than Lamar Jackson. He was incredible for what he could do. Now, he would also turn the ball over, which Lamar Jackson doesn't do. But I think that's about the last time I can remember being this bleak. At least with Cordell, you were kind of sitting there thinking Cordell could do it. He's not starting. We're not sure why, but we're ready for it. We're ready to see what he can do. And they started Kent Graham, and that lasted, 3 weeks, maybe? But that's the last I can remember anything like this with the quarterback situation.
Who is this generation's Neil O'Donnell? That's what we need. Who is? I don't know.
And I remember that too, right? I mean, we went through all those block quarterbacks, and I'll never forget. It's actually kind of a special game for me. I remember my dad. It was one of those deals where, I had no idea what was coming. But he came home, or he picked me up at school. And homework done, blah, blah, blah. He goes, okay, well, we're not going home. We're heading down to Pittsburgh. I'm like, what are we going to Pittsburgh for? It was a Monday night game against the Giants, which they hadn't been on Monday Night Football in a long time. It was, 1991 or I can't remember, 92. But they actually were starting to blossom all of a sudden. It was Cowherd's first year maybe. And they put Neil O'Donnell in, and the Giants had him up the Giants were up 20-3 at halftime. And O'Donnell brought them all the way back, and they lost in overtime 23-20. And everyone couldn't believe it. Everyone's in the stands at Three River Stadium, like, look at this guy. Where's this guy been? Like, he's passing the ball and it's accurate and it's on target. And, and then Neil O'Donnell became the eventual starter and we had what we had with him. Good, bad, and ugly. But yeah, that's we don't even have Neil O'Donnell right now. Maybe Mason Rudolph comes in, Joe, and makes.
I was going to say maybe Mason could be our Neil O'Donnell.
Yeah.
And
maybe he's an AFC comeback player of the year.
And take us to the Super Bowl and then throw the game because he has ties with the mob. Maybe that'll be Mason Rudolph's allegedly future. I don't know. I would welcome that. If Mason Rudolph takes us to the Super Bowl, I will be so happy.
He'd be the biggest Steeler hero in years. The Mason Rudolph jerseys would be off the shelves. The bobbleheads would be out. I mean, there'd be a song sung by some bad band, down near Charleroi somewhere. They come up with a Mason Rudolph song, and it would be, but yeah, I believe it when I see it.
We'll see. Like sands through the hourglass, so were the days of our lives. The Steelers are such a soap opera right now. My goodness. I knew it would not be a dull off season, but my God, I didn't think it would be like this.
No. It's just unbelievable to watch.
Well, thanks to everybody for watching live. Thanks for Dave for the comments. And
Dave,
stay tuned. That's what they say at the end of every soap opera. Stay tuned for scenes from our next episode. We'll see.
Yes.
All right,
Joe.
See you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.